You spend your entire life running from time, as though it were a predator stalking you through the forest of your days. You wake up already behind. The alarm clock screams at you, and before your feet touch the floor, you're calculating how much you have to do, how little time there is, how you're already late for something that hasn't even happened yet. And so you chase. You chase deadlines, chase accomplishments, chase the next moment that will supposedly be better than this one. You're convinced that if you just move fast enough, plan well enough, achieve enough, you'll finally catch up to some imaginary finish line where time will stop hounding you. But here's what nobody tells you. The more frantically you chase, the faster time runs away from you. This isn't a poetic exaggeration. This is the literal truth of your experience. When you're rushing through your morning, desperately trying to get to work on time, does time seem to expand or contract? When you're anxiously anticipating the weekend, does Monday afternoon feel long or short? When you're counting the minutes until something painful ends or something pleasurable begins, does time move with you or against you? The answer is obvious. Time becomes your enemy the moment you try to outrun it. It becomes a tyrant, an oppressor, a cruel master, measuring out your life in coffee spoons, as someone once said. And you, exhausted and bewildered, wonder why you never have enough of it. But what if I told you that time isn't actually moving at all? What if the entire framework through which you understand your existence, this relentless forward march from past through present into future, is a construction of your own mind? Not a lie exactly, but a way of organizing reality that, while useful for certain purposes, fundamentally distorts your experience of being alive. You see, the moment you stop chasing time, something extraordinary happens. Time stops running away. In fact, it reveals itself to be something entirely different from what you thought it was. It reveals itself to be now, only now, always now. Think about it carefully. Have you ever actually experienced the past? No. You've experienced memories in the present. Have you ever actually experienced the future? No, you've experienced anticipations, plans, anxieties, all happening in the present. Every experience you've ever had has occurred in this moment, this eternal now that keeps happening. But your mind, clever thing that it is, takes these present moment memories and present moment anticipations and weaves them into a narrative, a story with a beginning, a middle, and a presumed end, a timeline. And then you identify with that timeline so completely that you forget it's a story. You think it's reality itself. And once you believe the story, you're trapped. Because stories have protagonists who must accomplish things. Stories have plots that must develop. Stories have tensions that must resolve. So you become the protagonist of your own life story, and like any good protagonist, you must have goals, things to achieve, places to get to, a future version of yourself to become. And so the chase begins. You run toward tomorrow, next week, next year, the end of your career, retirement, that moment when you'll finally have made it, whatever that means. You're always on your way to somewhere else, which means you're never actually here. The extraordinary thing is that this chase is exhausting, not because life itself is exhausting, but because chasing is exhausting. Running is exhausting. The constant mental calculation of where you should be versus where you are, what you should have accomplished versus what you have accomplished, who you should be versus who you are, this perpetual measuring and judging and striving is what drains you, not the actual living. The actual living, when you're present for it, is effortless. Breathing happens, your heart beats, the sun rises, birds sing, life flows through you like a river through a riverbed. But you're so busy running along the riverbank, trying to get downstream faster, that you don't notice you're already in the river. You already are the river. Now, let's get clear about something. I'm not suggesting that you should abandon all plans, quit your job, and sit in a cave contemplating your navel. That's just another form of chasing the idea of enlightenment, chasing the idea of being someone who doesn't chase. What I'm pointing to is something much more subtle and much more profound. It's the recognition that the quality of your life isn't determined by what you achieve or don't achieve, but by your relationship with this moment, right now, this one, the only one that actually exists. You see, when you chase time, you're operating under a fundamental misconception. You believe that the present moment is somehow insufficient, incomplete, or not quite enough. You believe that fulfillment, happiness, peace, satisfaction, whatever you're ultimately looking for, exists somewhere in the future, and you must do something to get there. This belief is so deeply embedded in your psychology that you probably don't even recognize it as a belief. It feels like an obvious fact, Of course, the present moment isn't enough. Look at all the problems you have. Look at all the things that need fixing. Look at all the ways your life doesn't match your vision of how it should be. But here's the paradox that will bend your mind if you really contemplate it. That future moment you're chasing, when it arrives, will also be a present moment. Think about that. Every single moment you've ever longed for, when it finally came, revealed itself to be just another now. And what? Did you do with it? If you're like most people, you were so busy thinking about the next thing that you barely noticed it. The graduation you worked 4 years toward, the wedding you spent months planning, the promotion you sacrificed evenings and weekends to achieve, the vacation you saved for all year. When these moments finally arrived, were you fully present for them, or were you already thinking about what comes next, already comparing the reality to your expectation, already taking photographs to document it rather than experiencing it, already worried about it ending? This is the cruel joke of chasing. You sacrifice the present for the future, but when the future becomes the present, you sacrifice it for the next future. And so you move through your entire life one step removed from actually living it. You're always preparing to live, getting ready to live, about to live, but never actually living. It's like spending your whole life rehearsing for a play that never opens. The rehearsal is the play. This moment is the life. There is no other one coming, and time, or rather your experience of time, changes completely when you realize this. When you stop chasing and simply arrive here in this moment, time doesn't speed up or slow down. It disappears as a problem. Oh, you can still use your watch, you can still keep appointments, you can still plan your day. But the psychological burden of time, the sense that you're racing against it, that it's slipping through your fingers, that you're running out of it, this evaporates because you recognize that you're not moving through time. You're not going anywhere. You're already here. You've always been here. You couldn't be anywhere else if you tried. Now, your mind will immediately protest this. It will say, but I have responsibilities, deadlines, bills to pay, children to raise. I can't just live in the moment I heart. But to think about the future. And this is a perfectly reasonable objection from the voice in your head that has been running your life. But listen carefully. Planning for the future and chasing the future are two entirely different things. When you plan from a place of presence, when you take action from a place of being rooted in this moment, your actions are clear, efficient, and appropriate. You do what needs to be done without the overlay of psychological fear, anxiety, and grasping. You respond to life rather than react to your thoughts about life. But when you chase, when you're psychologically attached to a future outcome, when your sense of self-worth is tied up in achieving some goal or becoming some version of yourself, then every action is contaminated with fear. Fear that you won't make it. Fear that you're not enough. Fear that time is running out. And this fear doesn't make you more effective. It makes you frantic, scattered, and exhausted. You've probably noticed this in your own life. The projects you complete with the most ease and joy are the ones where you're fully engaged in the process, not fixated on the outcome. The conversations you enjoy most are the ones where you're actually listening, not planning what you'll say next. The moments you remember most vividly are the ones where you forgot about yourself entirely and just experienced what was happening. So, what happens when you stop chasing? What happens when you bring your attention fully into this moment and let the future be what it will be? Something remarkable occurs. You begin to notice things you've been blind to your entire life. The quality of light in the morning, the sensation of breath moving in your body, the intricate beauty of an ordinary face, the profound mystery of consciousness itself, that you are aware that there is something it's like to be you. These aren't small things you're noticing. These are the texture of existence itself, the raw data of being alive, which you've been glossing over in your hurry to get somewhere else. And as you become present, you discover something that will sound paradoxical. You become more effective, not less. Your work improves, your relationships deepen, your creativity flourishes. Why? Because you're no longer dividing your energy between being here and wishing you were somewhere else. You're no longer fighting reality. You're no longer arguing with this moment about how it should be different. You're simply here, fully here, and from that presence flows an intelligence that your anxious, future-focused mind simply doesn't have access to. Think about a river again. A river doesn't hurry. It doesn't chase the ocean. It simply flows according to the lay of the land, the pull of gravity, the nature of water itself. And in that flowing it carves canyons, nourishes forests, and eventually reaches the sea, not through effort or striving, but through being what it is. You are not fundamentally different from that river. You are life flowing through a particular form, and that life already knows how to live. Your cells know how to divide. Your heart knows how to beat. Your immune system knows how to fight infection. The intelligence that animates you is not located in your thinking mind. Your thinking mind is just one small function of this vast intelligence. But you've been taught to trust only the thinking mind. You've been taught that you must figure everything out, plan everything, control everything, and so you live in your head, in your thoughts about life, rather than in life itself. You create elaborate strategies for how to be happy, how to be successful, how to be loved, and then you wonder why these strategies so rarely work. They don't work because happiness, success, and love aren't goals to achieve. They're not destinations to arrive at. They're qualities that emerge when you stop the strategy. Stop the chase and allow yourself to be fully present with what is. Let me give you a concrete example. Think about falling in love. When you first fall in love with someone, you're not thinking about the future. You're not strategizing about how to maintain the relationship or calculating whether this person meets your criteria for a long-term partner. You're simply here with this person, mesmerized by their presence. Time disappears. Hours feel like minutes. You're fully alive, fully engaged, fully present. That's why it feels so extraordinary. Not because the other person is perfect, but because you've stopped chasing for a moment. You've arrived. You're here. But then what happens? Your mind starts up again. It starts asking, will this last? Are they the one? What if I get hurt? What if they leave me? What about our future? And slowly, subtly, you shift from being present with this person to being lost in thoughts about this person. You shift from loving to clinging, from enjoying to needing, from presence to fear, and the magic disappears. Not because anything changed in the other person, but because you left. You left the present moment and went back into your head, back into time, back into the chase. This pattern repeats in every area of your life. You get a new job, and for the first few weeks you're excited, engaged, fully there. Then your mind starts, is this really what I want to do with my life? Should I be making more money? What about my career path? And the joy drains away. You move to a new city, and initially everything is fresh and fascinating. Then, is this the right place for me? Should I have moved somewhere else? What am I missing? And the wonder fades. You achieve a goal you've been working toward for years, and for approximately 10 minutes you feel satisfied. Then, what's next? What should I accomplish now? Is this all there is? And you're off running again. Do you see the pattern? The problem is never the circumstances. The problem is always the same. You're not here. You're in your head, in time, in the story of your life rather than in the living of it. And here's the most important thing I can tell you. You cannot think your way out of this. You cannot strategize your way into presence. You cannot make it a goal to be present, because making it a goal is just more chasing, more future orientation, more of the same pattern that creates the problem in the first place. So what's the way out? Simply noticing, simply becoming aware of what you're doing. Right now, as you listen to these words, notice where your attention is. Are you here, taking in what's being said, or are you thinking about how this applies to your life, or judging whether you agree or disagree, or planning what you'll do later, or wishing you felt more enlightened? Just notice, without judgment, the constant movement of your attention away from this moment. And in that noticing, something shifts. You can't notice your thoughts without being, for that moment, separate from your thoughts. You can't observe your mind chasing without being, for that moment, not chasing. The simple act of awareness creates a gap, a space, a moment of presence. And in that gap, you get a taste of what it's like to not be driven by the mind's constant commentary. You get a taste of being here, in the body, in the senses, in the raw experience of existence that's always been here, but that you've been too busy to notice. This is not a technique. This is not something you do. It's more like something you stop doing. You stop identifying completely with the voice in your head. You stop believing every thought that arises. You stop taking your anxiety about the future as a reliable indicator of reality. You stop treating the present moment as an obstacle to overcome on your way to some better moment. And in that stopping, in that relaxation, time finds you. Time finds you. Not the clock time that measures out your appointments and deadlines, but real time, eternal time. the timeless present that mystics and poets and children naturally inhabit. The state of consciousness where you're so fully engaged with what's happening that the question, how much time do I have, simply doesn't arise. Have you ever been so absorbed in something that you completely lost track of time, playing music or making love or watching a child sleep or creating something with your hands or sitting in nature? In those moments, where did time go? It didn't go anywhere. You just stopped relating to it as something to manage, something to worry about, something you're running out of. You dropped into the eternal now, the timeless moment that's always here beneath your thoughts about time. And paradoxically, when you're in that timeless state, you have all the time in the world, not because the clock slowed down, but because you stopped fighting the clock. You stopped trying to fit more into each moment than the moment contains. You stopped rushing through this experience to get to the next one. And here's what's truly beautiful. When you stop chasing time, you stop chasing everything else too. You stop chasing happiness because you realize that happiness isn't a destination. It's your natural state when you're not resisting what is. You stop chasing success because you realize that success isn't about achieving some external goal. It's about being fully engaged with what you're doing right now. You stop chasing love because you realize that love isn't something you need to earn or deserve. It's what you are when you drop the barriers your mind has constructed. The entire chase, all of it, was based on a misunderstanding. The misunderstanding that you are somehow separate from life, that you need to get somewhere, achieve something, become someone before you're okay. But you're not separate from life. You are life. Life is living itself through you right now. Your lungs are breathing. Your heart is beating. Your cells are regenerating. The universe is happening as you, not to you. There's nowhere to go because you're already here. There's nothing to become because you already are. This recognition, when it really lands, is the most liberating thing you can experience. Not because your circumstances change, they may or may not, but because your relationship to your circumstances completely transforms. You're no longer waiting for your life to begin. You're no longer postponing your happiness until some condition is met. You're no longer measuring yourself against some imaginary standard. You're simply here, alive, aware, participating in this extraordinary mystery of existence. And from that place of presence, life becomes playful again. Remember how you experienced life as a child, before you learned to worry about time, before you learned to chase? A child can spend an hour examining a puddle or watching an ant carry a crumb, not because they're trying to achieve anything or learn anything or become anyone, simply because they're here, fully here, fascinated by what is. That capacity never left you. You just buried it under layers of conditioning, under the belief that you should be doing something more important, something more productive, something that moves you toward your goals. But what if this moment, this ordinary moment right now, is the most important thing? What if the quality of your presence here determines everything else? What if the way you drink your morning coffee, the way you listen to a friend, the way you walk down the street, the way you breathe? What if that is your spiritual practice, your meditation, your awakening? Not something separate from life that you do for 30 minutes on a cue, Shian, but the actual living of your life with full attention, full presence, full awareness. This doesn't mean you become passive. It doesn't mean you stop engaging with the world or stop working toward things you care about. It means you engage from presence rather than from fear. You work toward things because the work itself is fulfilling, not because you need the outcome to validate your existence. You plan for the future, but you don't live there. You learn from the past, but you don't dwell there. You inhabit the only place you can actually live. Here, now, this eternal present moment that keeps revealing itself. And as you do this, as you practice presence not as a technique but as a way of being, something miraculous happens. The things you were chasing start coming to you, not through magic or mysticism, but through a very simple mechanism. When you're present, you're available. You're available to opportunities that arise. You're available to connections with other people. You're available to insights and creativity. You're available to life itself. When you're lost in thought, rehearsing the past or rehearsing the future, you miss what's actually here. You miss the conversation happening in front of you. You miss the chance encounter. You miss the subtle signal from your body. You miss the beauty that surrounds you. Presence is not withdrawal from life. It's full engagement with life. It's radical availability to what is. And what is always enough, always complete, always whole. Not because circumstances are perfect, but because this moment, exactly as it is the only reality. Everything else, Your thoughts about how it should be different, your memories of how it was, your fantasies about how it will be, all of that is imagination. Useful imagination sometimes, but imagination nonetheless. So here we are at the heart of it. The invitation is simple but profound. Stop. Stop running. Stop chasing. Stop trying to get somewhere else, not forever, not as a rigid rule, but right now. J. Asked for this moment. Can you be completely here? Can you feel the sensation of breathing without trying to change it? Can you hear the sounds around you without labeling them good or bad? Can you experience whatever emotion is present without trying to fix it or understand it or explain it? This stopping, this arriving, this being here, this is what I mean when I say time finds you. Because time, real time, the eternal now, has always been here. It never left. You left. You went into your head, into your stories, into your chase. And now, in this moment, you can come back. Not through effort or discipline or willpower, but through simple recognition, through seeing that the race was always an illusion, through understanding that the finish line you've been running toward is right here, right now, under your feet.